in admin for the project could be exactly the same in terms of what they can do in a specific project as the domain one, because it's the domain one would just work as a specific project admin when working on a project, and then the same thing for a different one. Okay, so for example, in our case, a project domain admin would be able to delete attachments for all the users and everything within the project. But for example, it would not be able to create volume types. It would not be able to do things with the cluster object or disable services or things like that. That would be a system scope, maybe.
Yep.
Okay. I think it's, unfortunately, we would have to review and change, at least in this document that we worked on, Brian. We would have to review it because now everything has changed.
So it sounds like what's happened is the system personas can do less stuff than we thought they could do. What you're going to have to do, so right, okay.
Well, I think what you're getting at is that before there was some implication that system meant elevated privilege, but really what system means is scope. And that's why we call it system scope.
No. For us, it wasn't like that because it was not about privileges, but about the scope. So if your system, you can go to any project. That was our assumption. And then you could do whatever you could do based on whether you're admin or not. But system increased your scope because instead of a single project, now you could go to multiple ones.
Yeah, maybe I should say it this way. I think that the implication before was that the system scope was on the user, whereas we're talking about the scope is actually on the resources. Is it a project scoped resource or a system scoped resource? And you need the right kind of token to manage the right kind of resource. But if we had called it A or banana instead of system, it probably would have imputed less additional privilege because the word system means lots of things, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I think that at least for me that clarifies it, the fact that system is the scope of the resource and not of a user.
I guess if there's a silver lining in this, it's that Cinder's policies really don't take into account the system attribute at all yet.
Unlike some of us that have made more progress, right?
And it's sounding like keeping the project ID in the URL is sounding better and better.
Disagree. Just in general. Just because in general, I think that's terrible. It's convenient. Maybe that's what you mean. But I think that you mean sounding better and better from a perspective of like allowing system users that don't have a project scope to operate on project scoped resources, right? And I think that we should not allow that to happen anyway.
No, I sort of mean more as a hierarchy of organization of resources, right? Because we're specifically saying, right, there are resources that are located within a project, and so you should approach those in a specific way. And it
you mean so that the URL looks right?
No, not just so that the URL looks like right, but it's just that, right, the resources actually belong to the project, right? And there's stuff that belongs to projects, and that gets handled separately from stuff that belongs to systems.
What I mean by the URL looking right is that the project ID comes first, right? And then volume comes next. Is that right?
Yeah.
So it looks like, if you think about them as directories,
exactly.
The volume is under the project, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would agree. That definitely makes it look, it kind of reflects the hierarchy of the of the thing. I don't like it. I don't like it, but I definitely know what you mean by making it look like, because then volume type doesn't show up under any project ID in the URL, which makes it look more like a system thing, right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, all right. So we've got
volume
some
types do show up under the project, don't they?
Oh, that's right. That's where it breaks. So when you manage it, it's a system level thing, but when you view it, it's a project level thing, which breaks Brian's whole.
Yeah, but see, it's virtually part of the project.
Oh, virtually. Okay, yeah, virtually.
Right, because those are virtually available to being in a project. Because you can't use the volume type unless you're in a project to create the volume. I'm just, right, I used to be a philosopher, so I will just argue this forever. Okay, I think we've got to the point where we understand Lance and Dan's points, and we're past time anyway.
Sorry.
All right, so like I said earlier, there'll be plenty of opportunities to do more and better work in secure RBAC, and even more. These opportunities are coming faster and faster, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, thanks everyone for participating. And if you second thoughts or anything, slap them in the Etherpad. We'll take a quick look at them tomorrow. Otherwise, yeah, we're finished for today. So thanks everyone. And I'm not going to close this. I'm going to stop recording. I did remember to start recording, so thank goodness. All right, I'm going to stop recording now. So feel free to hang around for a few minutes and just relax if you want. All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Good session.
Yeah, good session.
And what about